Okay, here we are again today on our Tuesday talk with Jeffrey and Guy on body electronics. And today we're going to start off. We just wanted to continue on where we were last Tuesday on those 10 steps to perfection, and really talk about that a little bit further, just so the new, especially for the new people. But it's always a good reminder. It doesn't matter how many years we're in body electronics. These are just really fundamental principles that come up in the body electronics process. One of the things that I want to really get clear about the 10 steps to perfection is not a perfectionism. So we're not looking at this intellectual idea of perfectionism. We're looking at, I think it'll be more clear after we go through the 10 steps to perfection, where body electronics is really coming in that fundamental part of the process of love, light, and perfection. So last week we just touched on the concept of faith in terms of body electronics. So I'm just going to read here. We just skimmed over it last week. So I'm going to actually read what John Ray wrote about step 1, which is faith. The first step is faith, which has been described to you as the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This could be expressed in another way. Through the acquisition of knowledge, one foresees as having already happened the ever-present now. One must have an increasing depth of perceptive awareness in the now. I think that's very important. To understand the deepening aspects of faith, it requires an active faith to acknowledge the yin energies of life. Those are the externalized energies that we are aware of in our surroundings, as to the end result of the creative aspects of man. So that's the yin energies, the end result of the creative aspects of man. Responsibility is claiming the perceptual nowness as one's own creation, which is only the first step of responsibility. So, yeah, so I don't think we have to say much more about that, because we've talked about the yin yang. We've talked about how the yang essence is though that inner essence that we work with, and the yin the yin is the external creative force that comes from that yang essence. Okay, step 2, and either one of you can pop in here at any time as we go through these if you have anything to add. Step 2 is virtue. The second step to perfection is to appropriately apply the laws of God, carefully moving from the appropriate application of the lower laws to higher laws. Responsibility is the obtaining of the law, and then coming to the understanding of the law by maintaining the law through application. The application of law through faith is known as virtue. Virtue is faithfully being obedient to the law from which one derives knowledge. There's so many trigger words in that. And I remember in the early days of body electronics, I would be triggered by the word law, responsibility, perfection, we've already talked about, virtue. I mean, there's just so many interesting words that until we get clear on those, and really when we get triggered by words, then we know that there's something there to clear. It's really that simple. So it's to see how it's and to really know how these words are being presented for the application of principles in our lives, for just that natural, I use the words sort of natural law. So that clarifies it a little bit more for my intellect, so that I can go a little bit further into the truth of it. Yeah, so it's all about working with those words, and the energy around those words, and then as we do, they get clearer and clearer. So here, yeah, virtue is, so it's really applying you know, it's basically just applying the principles. That's what I render that down to.
I remember on one of those videos from the 90s, there's a bit where they sort of break it down for maybe, an hour or something, and they talk about how it makes sense that it's in the order that it's in. And I'm just thinking, John, many people describe faith differently, but I think John has the definition that it's a recognition of the inner and the outer. It's almost like faith is probably the first one because it's just a recognition of reality, basically.
Yes, definitely. I can see how we talked about this earlier before we went on, how some things can be, these 10 steps to perfection can be sequential. Doug taught that they were sequential, yet I was saying that I found myself sort of bouncing around. But that's a very good point, Guy, because unless we have that first level of that knowing, that the yang essence that we're working with internally in terms of consciousness is what is the creative aspect that is creating the yin experience, nothing else makes sense unless we have that knowledge, unless we have that knowing. So that's a really good point. Yeah. Okay, let's pop into number 3. Number 3 is knowledge. The third step to perfection is to come to the understanding of the law through application, which results in knowledge. Knowledge can only come from experience. Knowledge cannot be bought as an intellectual curiosity in the marketplace, but must be earned through the assiduous application of law. Knowledge can only be obtained through faithful compliance with the law. Okay. Yeah. Anything to add to that?
The word obedience came in my mind versus compliance, but yeah, I remember John Ray, when he received this information, he was a member of the Mormon Church, which was the same church I was raised in. And I remember one of the ways they used that was the first law of heaven is obedience. And any blessing we receive is predicated upon obedience to the law upon which it's founded. So it's just a different way of saying the same thing.
I think that's where a lot of this languaging originated for John. So we always say, don't, when you have a trigger, like the word obedience and obeyance are huge trigger words if we have issues around power and control. So that, that pops us right into the emotional level of anger, and embrace that. That's how we clear the past. If we find the word compliance or obedience offensive, then we know there's something there to clear. We know that, and that can be a really good jumping off point to find, what's hidden within our own consciousness in those terms. Because we're not, in body electronics, we're not, there's not a hierarchy in the sense where that maybe somebody with resistance around those words, which, like I said, I had resistance to every one of those, those types of words. Compliance, definitely, 100%. I mean, to comply to what? So that's what's left. I think I wrote a little something this week about it. I can't remember the exact words I used, but it was something like when we clear the path emotionally, we end up with the clarity around the word. So the word becomes, in lacking of resistance, then the clarity comes of where that, what we can get from that word. So we have to clear our own resistances around so many words, especially in the English language. It's such a contrived, dualistic, formatted, programmed language. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it might be
Uh,
might be
it's a spellcaster. That's what they call it, spelling.
mm,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
We can clear ourselves of that too, right? We can clear ourselves of any belief system, any idea we have around words. We can literally just clear any resistance we have to, let's say, we have this idea of it being a spell. There's a spell, you can use words to make spells. Well, where do we have resistance around that? Go find the memories, the word patterns, and the emotions around that, and clear those places. That's how we get, because we're using this language in order to communicate, but we can't communicate clearly if it's loaded with belief systems and resistances around what the words mean. Individually, it's really to get a clearer language while we're still using a language. Eventually, there'll no longer be a necessity to use a lot of language, because we'll be so clear in the particularly in the emotional body, that our ability to be telepathic and clairaudient will be so profound. We'll use language less and less as we become clearer and clearer. That's what I'm saying.
we'll pick up on the feeling.
All of it. Like when you have
within the words, so we won't need to be all get the dictionary out.
right. Or get really, what's the big energy on the planet right now is around censorship. And I think that's really an interesting process that people are really understanding about censorship, and people are wanting, it's like this whole inversion where people want to censor, and it's like, and they're coming up with all these reasons why they want to censor this, that, and the other thing. So, this freedom to speak is really an issue in the forefront right now. So I think it's really a great time to really confront anything we have around language and speaking what we feel to be true, feel what we know to be true, what we, the speaking, really just speaking forward. And we're not always saying things in a perfect way. And sometimes we all make mistakes with language. So then we can go back and correct that, whether internally or externally. But so self-censorship, let's abolish self-censorship, and really with our ability to really clear any patterns, programs, and resistance we have within our own emotion, with our own mind, and we just get clearer and clearer. If things just get clearer and clearer, as we know, we've been in body electronics. The three of us have been practicing body electronics for decades. So it's things just get clearer and clearer.
I thought one thing that might be relevant there is John points out in those books, there's a difference between the sort of human-made law and the laws of nature. I want to call them that. And so he's talking about being obedience to the laws of nature. He doesn't mean, or how does he put it? The laws of people restrict and the laws of nature set us free. Of that, I think I'm changing the words a bit. Probably uses God and stuff like that.
Yeah, right, right. And that comes into a lot of resistance there too, because like there's nature. So then we can look at, what do we think about nature? And that's more of a third dimensional realm.
Yeah.
But there's natural law while we're in third dimension. And that law, those laws, those natural laws change dimensionally, just as they change from the whole laws of love changes when the laws that govern the laws of love change as we go into the laws of light. And you know, those higher and lower laws is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
You know, so we're moving, we have to be aware of the constant change from lower law to higher law, lower law to higher law. And it's not that one is better than the other. It's a natural progression that, you know, as we clear anything that's within our unconsciousness that, you know, that comes to the surface, it's a, you know, it's a big job. we're you know, we're greatly unconscious as human beings here on planet Earth. So it's a big job. Okay. Anything else before I go on?
Go ahead. I'm enjoying just listening. Yeah, go for it.
Where was I? Step 4? Okay, step 4 is temperance. The fourth step to perfection is understanding that there are higher and lower laws. Did I read that already? Or no?
No, not yet.
No, okay, I was just, yeah, that's great. So we already had a preamble there. The fourth step to perfection is understanding that there are higher and lower laws and understanding when to apply them to oneself and to others. This is known as temperance. Wisdom dictates when one obeys a lower law or a higher law. Whenever a higher law is obeyed, it necessitates breaking a lower law with the corresponding penalty for breaking a lower law. The lower law should never be broken unless it is covered by obedience to a higher law. That's really important to know. Temperance then is wisdom self-applied to a given condition, demanding attention, resulting in choices or alternatives of solution. Yeah, that you know, that takes some contemplation and some yeah, that takes a lot of contemplation dash experience. And to know, you know, I tended to be, especially in my younger years, I tended to be hesitant. I'll give you an example. So I had a teacher who said to me, you don't tell anybody anything unless they ask. And that was, you know, I really took that very, very seriously. And so for many years, I remained literally silent unless somebody had the ability to ask a question or ask a, you know, if it was around their own healing, or, you know, and this is what this teacher was talking about, was particularly around a person's healing. And I got to this place where I was like, I just see so many people who could be helped with the knowledge, yet they don't know how to ask, or maybe they weren't even taught to ask. That's very, this teacher was an Ojibwe elder. And in that, you know, in that community, they teach their youth to ask, to go to the elder with tobacco, lay some tobacco down and ask for what, you know, what they require. And they also, and it's also taught to ask, and you don't have an elder nearby, then you ask the land. You go to the water and you ask, you know, you put tobacco to the water, you lay, we call it, you know, the laying down tobacco on the land or on the water. And you make your request known that way. But a lot of people outside of that community literally had and still has not the knowledge on how to ask. And it doesn't have to be with tobacco. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people just have to be clear in their, you know, in their, in what they require, formulate a question and ask for what, you know, for what they need. You know, it's really that simple. And so anyway, to go back to the higher and lower law, I ended up breaking that law of don't say a word unless they ask. And I started, you know, if I saw somebody that I could help, unless I was interfering, or I was always be very cautious about that. So I would be, you know, I would ask internally before I said anything. I just didn't, you know, lay it out to, you know, anybody and everybody. But I got see how I'm saying that that's, to me, that's an example of higher and lower law.
Yeah.
And of course, discernment comes in there, right? It has to be tempered with discernment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like you would have recognized that you had the ability and the knowledge to sort of uplift people without interfering.
Right. Right.
Interfering in their progress. Yeah.
Right. Or assist them, you know, even assist them physically. You know, with the medicines that I've been given, with the you know, the detox, what I call detox formula, you know, even with that, you know, it was, I don't like to use the word Easiac, because that was sort of bought out by a conglomerate, and after Renee Case passed away, but that formula was given to me and taught to me how to prepare, and that has helped so many people. I mean, I lost track, you know, decades ago, but of how many people that, you know, but, you know, I used to have, my father was one of those people who talked to a lot of people, you know, anybody that was willing to listen, he talked. And so he shared how he healed himself with the, I call it the Ojibwe formula. And, you know, to give it back to the peoples where it came from originally. And so he talked, you know, everybody and anybody. And so then many people, especially in the 90s and into the 2000s, you know, so many people came to me because of that, because he was talking about it. And so then there was so many people helped, you know, so many people got completely clear of debilitating illnesses like cancer and so forth, you know, with that, and maybe a few other little tweaks that they needed to do. But that was like pre-body electronics for me as well. Like in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, that was pre-BE for me. So I was looking at helping them with mostly physical, you know, with these physical things. I still use that today, you know, that same formula. People can really be helped by that. And then once they get to a certain level of physical vitality, then they can get to the place where they can change their consciousness and really work hard within. But sometimes those things have to be cleared. That little physical boost has to be given to get to that place where someone is really capable and has a vitality to change consciousness. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to number 5. Patience is an interesting one. The 5th step is patience. Here is where one lovingly and willingly allows the joyous antics of a free soul to move forward. Oh, sorry, let me start again. Here is where one lovingly and willingly allows the joyous antics of a free soul to move toward ultimate perfection according to the dictates of his own conscience and at his her own rate of speed. Each pathway is planned to be traveled according to the unique rhythm of that individual traveler. The free agency of the soul is to be honored and respected and never denied as long as the actions do not interfere with the free agency of another. Okay, let's apply that just to what I was saying. So I was giving information when I saw, even though it wasn't asked for, but here's two things that could happen. First of all, I checked in with myself internally, intuitively, to see if it was the correct thing to do. And the second thing is that person has the ability to reject anything anybody says and say, no, thank you. So there's the freedom within that. Yeah. Unless we're down in the victim mentality of unconsciousness, apathy, and grief. And then a person can maybe feel like they're victim too, until they really move that energy, really, really clear those lower emotional energies. And then they realize that they're victims by their own making. Okay, step 6, a brotherly, sisterly kindness. The 6th step is brotherly kindness, which simply is the exercise of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is true as long as we can place ourselves fully into the viewpoint and understanding of the other with his, her expectations and conditions, and his, her level of awareness of enduring ability to the experiences of life. So do unto others as they would have them do unto you, with a twist. That reminds me of something that how Doug used to teach that was he would use an expression of a 6-year-old buying a train set as a gift for his mother. So, I really sat with that, because I went to every lecture Doug did for several years. So I heard the same thing over and over and over again, which was really, really good to really get to new levels of these contemplations. And so really what that's saying is we're seeing everything else from where we're coming from. So it's about building that discernment so we can see from what the other person is requiring. And in body electronics, in the levels of emotion, that always comes in pain. At the level of pain, emotional level of pain. When we get to the emotional level of pain, whether it's unconscious pain, apathetic pain, griefy pain, fearful pain, angry pain, or painful pain, or enthusiastically embracing pain, we really open that. Really, when we release the resistance to pain, the floodgates really open there. Okay. Where was I now?
It's really beautiful to be able to sort of intuit people better. It's like even you might have known someone 20 or 30 years, and then you transmute some of your own pain, and you sort of realize, wow, there's what I didn't know about them. Or, you see them from a slightly renewed kind of perspective.
Right.
Even though maybe nothing about them really changed.
Right.
It's hard to tell.
Right. Or they see you the same as they thought you were 30 years ago, yet you're entirely different.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting one. When people, and my parents are passed on, but I remember observing that with my parents, where they would see me sort of as even, I could be a full grown woman, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they would still see me as a child, and those patterns were there because of their their belief of holding that past, holding the past, and that's a really interesting, because you really have to break through those patterns then, as the child. I mean, that's just one example. There's however anybody sees you, if they're holding some kind of belief system. Here's another aspect of that, and I tell people about this a lot. Let's say you have somebody, hypothetical, has a type of illness, and they make that illness known to whoever, let's say family. And then that family internalizes and has all this belief system around the illness. And then they don't know a process of like body electronics. They don't know how to let go. And then that gets in their thoughts, into their emotions, and they hold it, and they continue to hold it. And that holding it, so the question is that assisting the person who has that, or had that illness? It's holding that energy. So those are really interesting things. And so the person who has, who has or had the illness has to break through all those barriers. If they're in body electronics, then they know what to do. They can work with that energy and really remove that resistance from that, at least for themselves personally. They can, we don't do it for anybody else. Everybody's in charge of their own vessel. What other people do are really basically none of our business. But those energies are often held when we don't know that transmutation process of body electronics. Okay, now we're going to step 7, godliness. The 7th step is godliness, the ability to administer the law as a mother and a father would administer the law to his or her own children. In this arena of responsibility, all are designed for the gradual release of the soul from restriction, as one helps the other to help himself. One disciplines lovingly until that individual can discipline oneself. One helps the individual become more proficient at the choice of his own interest, directing that interest until it encompasses every phase of life's activity without resistance. I think that's where, so step 7 is where someone pretty much has to have mastered in order to be a body electronics instructor. Because if you don't have that, then it doesn't work. Let me read it again. The 7th step is godliness, the ability to administer the law as a mother and a father would administer the law to his or her own children. In this arena of responsibility, all is designed for the gradual release of the soul from restriction, as one helps the other to help himself, herself. As one helps the other to help himself or herself. One disciplines lovingly until that individual can discipline oneself. One helps the individual become more proficient at the choice of his own interest, directing that interest until it encompasses every phase of life's activity without resistance. So it's basically, in my feeling about this, in terms of a body electronics instructor, it's getting people, I'm not sure about the disciplining part, but I don't crack the whip too hard in my intensives, but I will hold a high standard of conduct. Maybe, I can maybe change that languaging up a little bit from discipline to holding that a certain level of conduct within the practice. So yeah, and then you watch people as they grow, and as people grow in their awareness, in their knowing, and in their practice, their inner work, then the necessity of the instructor becomes less and less and less. I'll tell another little story about that, and then I'm gonna let you guys talk for a minute. I want to get through these 10 steps, and then we can then we can have a discussion. But when I was introduced to body electronics, and then, I've told the story in other videos, so I'm not going to go into the full story. But when John passed away in 2001, John Ray, founder of Body Electronics, when he passed away in 2001, he was present with me like at all time. Prior to his passing, he was present with me in dream time only, and I would ask him questions and he would answer them. But when he passed away, he was present with me in my waking hours, also in dream time, but less in dream time, more in my waking time. We would have full-on conversations, and it was often, I would feel his energy off on my, just above and behind my left shoulder. And that was when, digital cameras were really getting popular, and there you would see this big violet orb, perfect violet orb would often be photographed there. And during the first few years, so up, 2001, 2002, I started practicing and being a student of body electronics with Douglas Morrison. So from 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, and starting into 7, John was with me. Well, let's say 2, 3, 4, he was with me all the time. Then I started seeing that he was with me less and less. Then there was even less and less. And then by the time 2006, 2007, and then at a certain point, he was gone. And I didn't really know, I was sort of getting used to him kind of coming and going, that, that energy in my, my opportunities then to, to ask. And of course I had many opportunities with Doug. And so then John just came less and less, and eventually didn't come at all. And I think that's a really great example of that. When someone requires assistance, then and really seeks it internally, asking, what we talked about earlier, that whole asking process, must be there, that energy of asking, particularly. And then that energy goes out and is given into the, that can even be, considered that yin experience with John. That had to have come from somewhere deep within me, that I had that, intense desire to receive. And if you fellows look at my today's, we're on the 31 day of the 43-day fast today that I posted on, and I've switched, I'll just jump in here, I've switched the group from the Body Electronics, the Evolution of Consciousness. I'm done putting posts on that group. It was totally shrouded. I had set it up as a private group, and that couldn't be reversed. So I've moved it over, and I've changed my Elia Heart group into, it just says Body Electronics. And that's where I'm going to be posting from now on for all the people interested in body electronics. It's fully shareable. I've already got, after less than 24 hours, I already have new interest, new people have been sharing things. It's really, really awesome. And so today was all my topic today was giving and receiving. So that's, really, really relevant to, well, it's relevant to everything, but it's really relevant to that asking. And then, we have that ability to ask, but then we then have to have the awareness and the ability to receive. So there's some writings there that I think people might be interested. Okay, next one is step 8, charity. The 8th step to perfection is charity, the pure love of the inner Christ light, continually manifested through every outer act with no conditions or expectations. Only love is manifested, ever sustained and ever outflowing, with no judgment, as love can only come from non-resistance and discernment. Okay, so I'll say I'm still working on that one big time. Big time. That's when the Christ light, the pure love, light, and perfection is brought into this physical realm and embodied. That's a big one. Number 9, humility. The 9th step is humility. One is humble when there is no longer separation, but a recognition from a multidimensional point of view and a multiple viewpoint of consideration that all is one. That all is one continuous, uninterrupted cause of life, which is simultaneously cause and effect, and there is no mistakes. All is perfect divine order. This is the beginning of understanding the true position of unity in diversity. I'm just going to jump forward into step 10, which is diligence. The 10th step to perfection is obtained after each of the prior steps toward perfection. The 10th step is diligence. One cannot be truly diligent, therefore one cannot be truly responsible until all steps are mastered in sequence. Okay, then we're going back to the sequence thing again. Indicating mastery of our linear thinking capacity, and then finally, as a mastery of our hologramic oneness, encompassing the appropriate simultaneous yin-yang activity in each event of life as it is served up sequentially as a condition demands. Responsibility, therefore, is the qualities of perfection appropriately applied in our lives individually and collectively. As we love, communicate, and create while we dance the dance of life. The law of right action leads one step by step to perfection and the full application of responsibility. One must first of all receive before one can give. One must first of all serve apprenticeship before one can be released to be a master. One must first of all be willing to be the effect before he, she can become cause, then simultaneously cause and effect. There's sure of that. That's what I'm reading from. Okay. Oh, Jeffrey's gone sideways. Oh my gosh. Okay. Would you like to take it from there? I'll be right back. Give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Go ahead and take over there.
Alrighty. Well, looking at these beautiful Canadian mountains in the background there, and the little river or the lake there. Yesterday I was a bit of Googling, and I was looking at flying from New Zealand to Spokane, America. I've been to America a couple of times at previous point holding intensives. Once in 2010 and once in 2012. For the 2015 intensive, I went straight to Vancouver, and that intensive was at a little place called Salt Spring Island, which is a really beautiful little island off the coast of Vancouver. So yesterday I was Googling, is it better to go through, what would I like? Should I go through the Vancouver and catch the train to Nelson, where Billy is having the intensive, or fly to Spokane, and then it's only a 3-hour drive to from Spokane to Nelson, but the train ride was 12 hours. I'm just talking about the ways to get to Nelson. I saw you posted something
right.
last night from
Right.
Spokane.
Right. Yeah, I thought I haven't taken that drive because we haven't been able to get over to the States, which I hear is going to be lifted in May. But I was really surprised that it was actually that short. And I think Spokane is actually a fairly large airport. So I saw some possibility there where people could, converge there and share share a car rental or whatever people want to do.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe train trip from Vancouver. It's 12 hours. It's like
Mm,
from Vancouver to Nelson.
mm.
So I don't know, it depends on the sort of niceness of the train, is it
I
one
don't
of
even
those
think,
really,
do they have a drop off in Nelson? Like, we have an industrial train that goes by, but I've never known anybody to be able to get off at the train in Nelson or anywhere nearby.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's this picture. I heard you speak about this picture. I took this picture off my step the other day. It's really
Wow.
we've had so many days that didn't have sun, and this one was particularly beautiful. Yeah, so there's different ways. So Kelowna Airport is the airport that has a shuttle bus, but that shuttle bus to Nelson is only once per day, so you have to be really aware of that in terms of timing. And I think it leaves Nelson, or no, it leaves, I don't know, you'll have to look at it. It's called Silver City Coach. I think it's called Silver City Coach. And you can see they have a Facebook site, and then they have a website that you can go to and see all of their timing and stuff. So that's another way to do it, is to fly into Kelowna. Another way to do it is to fly into Castlegar, which people that like you that are coming from long distance, Guy, coming from, if you flew into Vancouver, then you could take another flight, Air Canada flight from Vancouver to Castlegar, which is only 30 minutes away from Nelson. Yeah, so that's kind of the other possibilities.
Cool.
Yeah, like for you, I think that may be the most affordable one, but you'll have to check that out as far as like is in relation to Spokane. I was thinking more of the people that are sort of gathering from the US, they could kind of converge onto Spokane and then come up together. And then of course they could, that would at some point we'll have an email group that I'm bringing together. I'm asking everybody who's really interested. They don't have to commit to it at this point, and there's no money involved. We're going to be doing classes. You can ask questions in the classes. This Friday at 3:00 Pacific Standard Time is an open class that the Zoom link is on that Body Electronics group page. So people can ask questions if they have, if they have interest, but they're not sure, they can, that's a really good opportunity to do that. I'll have a little bit of a teaching and then opportunity for Q&A after. So we'll gather an email list, and then I'll, people can request to be put on that email list. And then I'll send that out. Then people can coordinate, how we've always done. We coordinate, where we're going to stay. There's lots of Airbnbs around here. There's big Airbnbs where, 6, 8 people can stay together in one, making it very affordable. So that's something that really has to be done. I would say within the next couple of months at the least. Yeah, February, we're into February tomorrow. So February, March, by the middle of March, the Airbnbs should be booked, because this is a tourist area. We, last year, we had a lot of company coming in because my daughter got married, and people were booking like early, like February, to get a good Airbnb. Just so people know that it's really, really important to sort of get in early. But I want people to sort of gather in that email so that they can talk to each other and have communications around those things. Yeah, so that's a little bit of that out of the way. I think did we lose Jeffrey? I think he was having trouble with his internet. He had went somewhere specifically to do this to gain a better internet connection. So we'll he may come back. What time
Yeah,
are
are
we?
they having crazy weather in America at the moment?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there. I know the East. I only know sort of what's going on in Canada and particularly where my children live. So in Eastern Canada, I know they're also going into a deep freeze. Um, we're going to come out of it. We've been in it for the last several days. I've been really keeping the wood stove going here, really just to keep the the whole house from being completely chilled and pipes frozen and that sort of thing. And I know that Eastern Canada is going into that deep freeze now too. So yeah, I mean it's Canada. Yeah, we're getting our winter. And that's really around why I chose the first part of June to do the intensive here in Nelson as well. Yeah, we'll have some really nice weather. And the markets here, the farmers markets here are really up and running at that time. So that was another part that I considered. We have a
Cool.
really great farmers market on Saturdays, and there's also a Wednesday downtown Nelson market. They take a couple of just a couple of blocks downtown, and they close it off, and it's a really great market, not only for food but also for the artisans, and there's some pretty creative people here, so it makes it very enjoyable. And also for the people who are coming, especially people who aren't aware of this. Oh, he's coming in again. Let me add Jeffrey. This is a beautiful area, so I'm telling people to look at coming a little early, staying a little later, and really enjoying this beautiful spot. Hi, Jeffrey. Can you hear us? Yeah, I can. I think you can. Can you hear us now?
Hi, yeah, I moved locations. I was having a bad connection.
That's what I figured. You're sideways. We see you sideways.
Oh, I'm sideways right now?
Yeah, you're sideways. It's a.
How's that?
You're almost. Well, you're. You're still
You're
sideways.
still sideways there, bud.
Just turn your phone. Yeah, so just just to know that this is a tremendously beautiful spot. There's a 20 minutes north of here, 30 minutes north of here. There's a hot springs where people can enjoy some really good healing waters. There, that's a great half day trip. They can even go even further and just see the most beautiful, we call it, it's called Fletcher's Falls. So it's on that same little tour. So I'll put a few things together for people that can, just a few ideas where they can go on just little day trips and really get the most out of this area. So yeah, so I don't recommend you coming the day before and leaving the day after. Just really give it some time, before and after, if you at all possibly can. Yeah, it's a really gorgeous place, especially that time of year. There you go. You look like you're cold. Is it
Jeffrey,
cold where you are, Jeffrey?
I'm okay in the car. I just it's cold outside. I just haven't taken my coat off.
What's the temperature
But
where
yeah, it's I feel like you're sending us some of the frigid temperature from Canada.
you're welcome? Yeah. We're just trying to prove that global warming's a hoax.
Oh yeah.
I'm quite
So so is the word global, but that's another story.
exactly.
mhm.
Hmm.
I have my favorite saying is just because I started living inside a ball doesn't mean I live on a ball. But,
So
I,
anything you think
yeah.
either you want to add to the 10 steps to perfection, anything that comes up with those, with that very, very profound teachings that John imparted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I actually heard them. So thanks for going through those. I was raised with that word perfection of the saints, for the Mormons. That was one of the threefold missions of the church. So it was a confusing word, that's for sure, but I have a better understanding of it now. I'm thankful to John's teachings to help me through that. Yeah, I miss John. I remember sitting on the Tim and Doug in Maui after I'd had some point holding, and they pulled out the
You're breaking up a bit, Jeffrey.
Can you hear me? Okay?
You just broke up. You
No.
stopped where you said John and Doug.
Yeah. Well, uh, there was one.
You're breaking up. Oh, we lost.
Oh, that's a shame.
Let's go back to
Sounded
that.
like a good story.
Let's go back to what we talked about in the beginning around the sequential following of this. Even though in step 10 it says they are done in sequence, but then it alludes to the mind, that sort of sequential part of the mind. And then when we get to a certain mastery, this is how I'm interpreting it, get to a certain point of mastery, lack of resistance, that then that sequential effort is less and less.
Gets easier and easier as you go along.
Well, but it becomes less relevant, is what I'm saying. The sequential
Okay.
part of it becomes less relevant.
Okay. Yep.
That's how I'm seeing that. Because I've gone like I've done a lot of transmutation around all of those 10 points. Maybe it's about going back and addressing certain points deeper and further. Maybe that's more what it's about. Just similarly to the list. So it's like, that's how, so there's parts in here when I read it, it's like, wow, I still have a lot of work to do there. Or I can see where I've gained some mastery here. Like I can see that. So maybe it's just about being fluid in, once you've gone through the 10 steps, worked diligently on every step, then to be able to go back and see where you still need to continue.
I was thinking when you got to patience, that I've had a few opportunities to work on my patience lately with the point holding that I've been doing with this guy. So it's definitely right on about opportunities. You get some opportunities to sort of work on one thing and see where you're not really complete, I guess, or not quite perfect, where you're resisting and
Right. Yeah, all that, to be aware, internally aware of what's going on, the responses and yeah, it's an amazing process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's look at that patience again. Because patience is in this is so different than what we would maybe normally consider patience. The 5th step is patience. Here it is where one lovingly and willingly allows the joyous antics of a free soul to move toward ultimate perfection according to the dictates of his own conscience and at his own rate of speed. Each pathway is planned to be traveled according to the unique rhythm of that individual traveler. Right. So that is very relevant to what you just said. Oh, here comes Jeffrey again. Very relevant to what you said about withholding points. So it's like getting ourselves out of the way when we're holding points and being perfectly willing to do our best job without putting our own impatience or our own ideas about how a person requires, at what rate a person moves from one state of consciousness to another, or at what rate they need to do this, that, or the other, but just doing our very best to hold the points and facilitate to the best of our ability, and hold that standard and allow that person their a complete and utter free will.
Yeah. So it sort of brings you into that desire for them to get it right. And
Yeah.
why can't they hurry up and transmute it quicker and all this sort of stuff? And
My arm is falling off with pain holding this point.
yeah.
I'm burning my
Stop moving your body, stop wriggling it, just prolonging it.
Yeah. It offers this unlimited opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost him again.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
And when it especially that patience, when it is around, because this has been my work even outside of the body electronics process. The healing work is what I've been putting my energy into for 3.5 decades or more. So getting to that place of patience with people's ability to heal, willingness to heal, willingness to apply principles in order to heal, to be able to really clearly step in our own non-resistance, allows then for all of those things to occur more readily within the person that is desiring to heal. But the second we put in our own expectations, our own ideas, our own belief systems around anything, not just speed, but anything that we, well, this is going to cure this, or this is going to help you do this, or any ideas that we may have, we can put them out, but how they are applied is entirely up to each individual. Yeah, that's been, I've dealt with a lot of frustration around that over the years.
Yeah.
Seeing that if this and this and this was applied, even from physical principles, the physical, emotional, and mental principles, if any or all of them were applied, healing is certain.
Yeah.
Yet you really you can encourage, but you can't instill willingness.
Yeah, the willingness has to, I don't know, has to come from within, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Lovingly and willingly endure all things is really the base principle for all of this, really. When you apply that one principle, lovingly and willingly endure all things, that's, if we can do that, we've covered pretty much all of those 10 steps to perfection. If we're truly lovingly and willingly enduring all things, internally and externally. Yeah, the yang and the yin. But until then, it's just a beautiful ride
Yeah.
of transmutation and awareness, you know, uncovering more and more and more awareness to be able to transmute and release. Yeah. I've done a lot of talking. I want you to take over.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been struggling a bit with, I guess, putting my own layers onto assisting my friend as best I can, and that he's had a bit of a problem, and he wants me to hold his points, and I still sort of get my own points held in the sense that arms burning off, and I can go through some really powerful emotional healing crises just holding, working on my own stillness while I'm holding there, and getting as meditative as possible while I'm holding the points there. But yeah, I've struggled a bit last sort of month or so with how I can best be of service, and resisting that. Sometimes I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, but to apply it quite as much as I could, stuff like that. And yeah, so I'm guessing the patience is the sort of the one that I need to work on at the moment.
So has he held your points recently?
No.
Okay, my feeling is that would be the best way for him to really turn a corner, is to hold the points. Yeah, that's so. See that where that giving and receiving really comes into, that has to be experienced on both sides, and that's really it's really one of the foundations of body electronics, that giving and receiving. Really, clearing that all those pathways to the giving and receiving in perfection.
Okay.
Yeah. And allowing him to have that experience.
Yeah, at every point holding intensive I've been to, in every group, and when we've done point holding in the past, me and this guy, it's always been giving and receiving. It's always been both ways. And then he sort of phoned me up out of the blue and said, "Hey, I've got a problem. Come and help."
Mm-hmm. But you see how that works when we're healing, when we're doing something that we really require some healing. Often it's to turn the table into giving rather than receiving. That can really turn things, and heal. Like you said, you get healing by holding points, and we learn that very, very early on. If we're being very aware and conscious of our resistance patterns as they're arising during point holding, when we're holding the points and we're working with that internally while facilitating, or it becomes quite a juggling act at times. But when we're doing that, we realize what you just said, that we're receiving so much by doing that. And just the willingness to give, the willingness to serve unconditionally, that's so important.
They talk on those videos in John's books, and you mentioned this as well. You don't really receive a blessing unless you're willing for other people to receive the same thing. Or remember John saying on one of those videos, you've got to be willing to receive the blessing last. If there was a big imaginary queue of everyone,
Right.
are you happy to be last?
Right. Or not at all.
Mm.
Or not at all. For the others to receive the blessing, or for the person, that other person or people to receive the blessing, and and maybe you won't receive anything, but be extremely grateful and happy that those people are receiving. Mhm.
Being grateful for someone else's healing.
There's a little
Grateful.
twist in there as well, because we also have to address and release any resistance we have around service. Because some people, and we see it within ourselves, if we're really getting to the depths of ourselves, we will see it eventually that we have a compulsion around service. So there's these compulsive processes and thought processes and emotion around service and servitude and serving and being, the martyr syndrome, and all of these energies that we have to address and release when they come into our awareness. And it's when we get really free of those to at least some degree, that we become then of greater and greater true service. So you see how that servitude, that resistance can come into that idea of, oh, let everybody else receive the blessing and just I'll just be the martyr. See, that's not what we're talking about here in that principle. It's really being true to ourselves in the sense that it's being happy and willing for others to receive the blessing without that martyrdom energy involved or any other resistance around service. Yeah. So there's a little twist in there.
That's it. Because a lot of people are so self-sacrificial that they don't want to receive any blessing at all. And then it's always an excuse to brag and stuff. Yeah. Right.
So we find those things when we're looking at that giving and receiving. That's why the point holding, that's one of the first things that interested me about body electronics was that there's no practitioner. So there's no patient practitioner, no medical paradigm. It's community, and we hold points and have our points held equally. And that's one of the foundations of the work, and that really, really felt so good, just that that giving and receiving, and of course releasing all the resistance we have around both of those things, giving and receiving. Find that that duality, and point holding is the perfect opportunity to find that.
On receiving blessings, I think one of the worst things that you can do, or that in my experience, I kind of found this out the hard way a few times, is to desire something. Then when it comes to you, you push away from it. And I've done this a few times with relationships and money situations and stuff like that. And it just sends you out. It's definitely not a healing crisis,
Right.
I mean, it's like resisting the healing crisis or something.
It's resisting life. It's resisting the yin energies that you've created.
Yeah. And trying to not own the fact that you've desired. Right.
Yeah, missed opportunities. It's like a self-forgiveness really clears that. If we can really get into one of those missed opportunities and really, get the words, get the emotion, get the memory, really bring that into the now, and apply the powers of transmutation, the love, the forgiveness, and the gratitude. I've done that many times around missed opportunities where it's really about self-forgiveness. That's the energy that really comes to transmute that. Yeah. You're back, Jeffrey? Oh, is he frozen? I think he's darn. Well, he'll have to lead us next week. I really am appreciative of these Tuesdays discussions. think it's really helpful for the people. I know people are posting that they've, and they're fairly long, like now we've already gone an hour and 21 minutes approximately. So, and that's what they've been, about an hour and 30, an hour and 40 minutes. And I really feel that there's, people are posting that they're watching them twice, and they're really grateful for them. So I really appreciate you guys
Thank you.
and our gatherings.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. And Guy, yeah, it's great.
Mhm.
Things mutual.
I-
Yeah, I'm really sorry about last week.
Oh my gosh, don't
That's okay. Yeah,
there's no need to
I
be,
missed you.
no need to be sorry. We just glad to have you this week.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no need to be sorry, Guy. Anything you want to say? Well, we got you on, Jeffrey.
Well, can you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can hear you clear.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll share what's going on with me as far as um, I just did a bunch of gut work. I did I was having a rash come out of my ankles, and it's been bothering me for quite a while. So I I I I did a Hulda Clark liver flush. If anybody's not familiar with that, it's a fascinating way to clean the liver, and I've done it many times over the years. But actually, released probably, I don't know, 30 good sized liver stones. And so I'm in the kind of a middle of because there's a lot of emotional release usually associated with the detoxification of the liver. So I think it's probably been, divine intervention that I haven't been talking to. But I do love you guys and appreciate the time that you set aside, Ilya, for us to get together and
Oh yeah,
triangulate.
yes. Are you taking lots of enzymes with your liver cleanse?
I'm doing the minerals. I did. I had a very intense niacin flush 2 days ago, and it was probably one of the most. It's been a while since I did one, and I've been in that EE system energy field over 50 hours since I had done a liver flush. So it's like I'm experiencing. I have high energy at the. I assume to put me into this healing crisis. So I'm just riding and loving it. Yeah.
If I were you, I would go really hard on the enzymes. Lots of protease, lots of like I've divided like I use that Canadian company now, Avena, for all my enzymes. And I'm recommending people too that instead of having to travel with their enzymes and minerals, that they can send them to my address here in Canada for the intensive. And then they have their minerals from Enzymes International and their enzymes from Avena. Avena is already, really aware of the body electronics community already. There's been quite a few people purchasing. They are excellent, absolutely excellent enzymes. They sell protease separately, and that's really great. And then they have a super enzyme. They have lots of other products too, so you can just check them out. I'll post on that Facebook group, the Body Electronics Facebook group, the new one. I'll post a link to their page and check them out. They got some really good enzymes. But I don't know what you're using in the States, Jeffrey, but I would up my protease, like take the superfood, amylase, lipase, protease, and the rest. But and I would add some protease, especially when you're doing a liver cleanse. You want to give the liver all the help it can get while you're putting a little bit of stress on it while you're detoxing.
Right. Yeah, I crossed paths with Jerry Tennant. He's a ophthalmologist. He's down in Fort enzymes, and that's what I've been using, just digestive enzymes for him. But I know there's a lot of good enzymes out there.
So many more than like just in the last 20 years.
So many.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've tried so
Yeah,
many
and
different brands, but Avena is the only one that I'm recommending at the moment.
okay, yeah, I'll gladly try those. Yeah, I just
Your American dollar is really doing well too, so that'll probably pay for the shipping.
oh well, yeah, okay.
I think we're at Canadian
finances
dollar.
for me have been really interesting since I've retired, and I just get a government check every month. So it's like I don't really have to go to work, but there's limited funding as far as what I can purchase.
Well, you have I think we're at about 30 cents on the dollar now for the Canadian American exchange. So.
Yeah, the yeah, my just
Here's another thing I'll
who
add.
knows what's coming? Who knows what's it's just it's we're changing consciousness, and the cookie's crumbling. That's the way I look at it.
Here's another thing I'll add too about the minerals from Enzymes International. I would for the particularly for the intensive, to have it delivered here, I would contact them at least 6 weeks in advance, at the very least 6 weeks in advance, to have your minerals shipped to my place here in Canada. If you want to ship gallons, and just know that the shipping is quite hefty, and we get hit with a brokerage fee. So you have to add that on to your pricing. So I think the last time I ordered, there was about $120 shipping for one case of 4. So if people were sharing, that's another thing that people can talk about when they're in their discussions around coordination, and they can share, get a better price on the minerals and share the minerals, and then the average brokerage fee has been about $80, which then divided by 4, so that's just an extra 20. They end up being our liquid gallons in Canada end up being somewhere around the 130 to 140 in Canadian dollars. So by the time you get them here, so that's just to give people an idea. And you're definitely going to need, you're each going to need, lots of minerals, lots of enzymes.
Yeah, burn, baby, burn.
I was also thinking, like, for the people who are, interested, just at the more of the interest place right now, getting on the nutritional program as soon as possible. Even if you don't have the intention at this moment to really come to the event, to really just start preparing now, get the minerals, get the enzymes, probiotics, raw protein, and essential fatty acids. I've started really going hard on MCT oil. So I've really been upping my MCT oil every day. So MCT basically derived from coconut is what I'm taking, and I'm doing it 3 times a day. And then it sort of bypasses the liver doesn't have to produce, it's really, it gets very complicated, but I just like to render things down. Basically, the body doesn't have to work hard to produce the ketones for your brain. So it allows that it just overrides that system. So then the MCT oil just goes, directly to the brain and feeds the brain. And I really notice it. Yeah, but I've been doing it, quite a lot of it. So it's really, really been excellent for those upping those essential fatty acids. And I did a post on them yesterday, so you can check that out. Anything
Yeah, I saw that post. Yeah.
anything else? I'm doing liquid, and then I'm adding like another powdered MCT to my smoothie. So it's going double on that.
Double whammy.
Yeah, I want to stay in ketosis. I was, after losing 31 pounds on keto and intermittent fasting, I'm down to a 4-hour window. I was down to a 1-hour window for several months, but now I'm down to a 4-hour window with my intermittent fasting. So I eat for 4 hours and fast for 20. That seemed to be working really well, but at the same time, it was lessening. I could really see that it was lessening my my level of ketosis. So I was kind of I wasn't out of ketosis, but I was really plateauing. So then now I'm looking at other ways to keep those ketones going. And this is the MCT oil is one way to do that. Okay, I'm going to let you guys just, we're at about an hour. We've gone about an hour and a half. So let's start wrapping it up. But I want each of you to put anything in that you feel to say.
Well, I was curious about your fast, and you said a little bit about it. So, how many days are you now?
Today we're at 31, and the total fast is 43. This is the 3rd year. I wrote it 3 years ago, and so this is the 3rd consecutive year I've done it. It sort of happened. I mean, I got the inspiration to do it, but then it was the first year. It was really like I just took it sort of day to day, whatever was sort of coming to me. And then the last 2 years, I've been editing it, changing it up, and just really refining it. I would say refining the process. And there's videos on many of them. There's links on each one that take you into deeper education and deeper levels of whatever's being discussed on that particular day. And basically, when I looked at it as a whole, it was like the perfect, or not like it, it was actually the perfect formula, the perfect recipe to encourage healing crises. It's really a beautiful, and to increase that the vitality, the levels of vitality that we have to continuously be willing to enter for a greater healing crisis to occur. So it's this gradual upping, and it is interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting process. Yeah, I do it as well. I'm not just posting it, I'm actually doing it. So everything that's there, I'm doing it. And many people are, like, we're doing it in real time. I have all the ingredients to it. So I tell people in the fast, you may not, for today, you may not have all the ingredients to do this, this, and this, but then you will, today would be the day that you would source it or order it. And then and you have those things. So it's not like it has to be done in a very particular sequence. It's just more of a really beautiful flow that just takes us into a deeper refining, I would say, in the holistic construct. And of course, body electronics is at its essence.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I don't have anything else. That was what I was feeling to ask you is about your fast journey, and I have very poor reception, and so I uh, haven't been following your posts. I was just yeah, so I need to do something about my internet out here in the we're in like a null zone, and so I have to look at that so that when we do these talks, I can be more present.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say happy point holding, everybody.
Yeah,
Whether we have an actual point holder or not, we can point hold ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Look for those opportunities for transmutation.
Right. And life will point hold us if we don't get at it.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I've been on that life do my point holding or the universal point holding journey for quite a long time. I as you know, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a lifestyle, isn't it? What
Yeah.
we've chosen.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
really recommend everybody that can come to the intensive. It's well worth it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. June 5th to 9th, 5-day point holding intensive. Like I said, this Friday, I'm going to start holding classes 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. The Zoom link is in the new Body Electronics Facebook group. And there's a link to the old Facebook group, Body Electronics, the Evolution of Consciousness, has a link to the new group. I put a link there. It should be somewhere near the top of the post. And yeah, so then you can link onto the Zoom. Actually, there's a Zoom link on that one too, on the old Body Electronics event group page. So yeah, join us on Friday for that. It may be similar to this Tuesdays. I may do like a similar Friday thing. Put some time aside on Fridays. I haven't decided that yet, but definitely this Friday, February the 3rd, and we'll go from there. Get the discussions going, get the questions and answers going, and like I said, I'll do a short teaching. So I think it'll be about an hour, something like that, and it won't be recorded. It will be, just like a gathering. It's not for public display.
I don't think I'll be able to make that one. Say
Well,
Friday at your 3 p.m.
At my 3, yeah.
I think I'll be working.
Yeah. How do your weekends work for you, Guy? Are you working weekends?
Yeah, I work Saturdays. I generally work all Saturday from sort of 10 in the morning to 10 at night.
Which is our Friday. So what about if I did it on Saturdays from like after this Friday, if I did it on Saturdays, that would be your Sunday?
Yeah, that might be okay.
That would work.
Yeah. Although I normally do my point holding at my friend's place on Sunday.
On the Sunday. Okay, well let's just leave it. I mean, you already are devoting your Tuesday to this, so let's just leave it. We'll see how it flows in the future. Yeah, because that's important. That your point holding is really, really important. Yeah. Okay, is that a good place to end for today?
I think so.
Okay, until next Tuesday.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Fellas.
See ya.
Have a great week.
You too.